have you already heard of the grim positivist? Look, it's this tiny creature that's honestly pretty cute. And if I'm bringing it up, it's not by accident. This animal lives deep in the abyss, in waters where sunlight never reaches. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. For that, we'll meet our dear Gustave. If you're new to the channel, he's my little test subject who helps me demonstrate things. I hope you made the most of the sunshine, Gustave, because you're not going to see it for a whole year. That's right, not even a single ray. What do you think will happen after spending so much time without direct exposure? Will our brave test subject lose his spirits and see his health decline? Will he end up looking like Gollum after years in the dark? Or stay perfectly healthy and happy even without our beloved star? Let's answer all those questions right now. 1 year without sunlight. What's it like? Before we get into it, let's go over the rules of our little experiment. Obviously, no contact with sunlight is allowed. You can't see it, that's given. But you also can't feel it. In other words, lying in the sun with a blindfold is a no-go. That would be cheating. So, a few modifications will be needed at home. We'll seal up the windows tightly to make sure no sunlight gets through. But Gustave won't be living in total darkness. He's allowed to use lamps and candles. And he won't be locked indoors for a whole year either. He can go out, but only at night. A full week has passed without seeing a single ray of sunlight, and honestly, so far there is not much to report. It's annoying not to see the sun, but it's not exactly unbearable either. Yes, it's inconvenient, but keep in mind you're still at the very beginning of your adventure. And actually, you can put things in perspective. The lifestyle you're about to experience is already the reality for some people. There are hereditary conditions that make sunlight exposure completely impossible. There are two fairly well-known illnesses of this kind. The first is called erythropoietic protoporphyria, or EPP for short. It affects about 1 person in 150,000 and is said to have partly inspired the myth of vampires. Of course, vampires drink blood, but remember, they only come out at night because daylight is dangerous for them. So what exactly does sunlight do to them? Yes, exactly, they burn in the sun's rays. And that burning sensation is precisely what people with EPP feel when they spend too much time in sunlight. To be more specific, patients first describe a tingling under the skin followed by prickling that gradually turns into a burning pain. Most say the peak of their crisis feels like the worst pain a human being can endure. The problem with this condition is that it's hard to detect. The marks, sometimes like irritations, sometimes open wounds, only appear after the crisis. While it's happening, people feel like they're burning alive, even though from the outside, there's nothing to see. Okay, let's take a break from the medical stuff. I don't think you're ready for the second illness I mentioned, but don't worry, we'll come back to it. It's now been a month since you last saw daylight, and for now, you're doing alright. Well, almost. Going without sun does lower your spirits. More precisely, the lack of sunlight starts to mess with your biological clock. That's right, in case you didn't know, your natural rhythm depends on the alternation of day and night. Without sunlight, that rhythm can get out of sync, which is what makes you feel down. In our experiment, you still have access to the time and know when to wake up or go to bed, but your brain relies far more on natural light than on clock hands to keep your body synchronized. And nothing explains it better than a few real-life examples. There are places on Earth where the night lasts for weeks. In regions above the Arctic Circle, winter nights can stretch on for several weeks. That's especially true in Scandinavia, and it's a real problem because people there often get depressed when their biological clocks fall out of rhythm. One of the main ways to fight that is through light therapy. The idea is simple. You'll expose yourself every day to a white light designed to mimic sunlight. But since we're here to see what happens without any sunlight, natural or artificial, light therapy is off the table. Sorry, but that's how it is. 4 months without sunlight and the effects of light deprivations are really starting to show. That's right, the human body really does need the sun. After all, sunlight is the main source of vitamin D for many living organisms. The special thing about vitamin D is that our bodies actually make it themselves. Sure, you can get some from certain foods like fish, but around 80 to 90% of your vitamin D comes from the sun's rays. The ultraviolet light in sunshine triggers your body to produce vitamin D. And just to remind you, vitamin D plays a major role in how your body works. It allows calcium and phosphorus to be properly absorbed. And calcium has quite a few jobs, such as heart regulation, nerve transmission, enzyme activation, neuromuscular response, blood clotting, hormone release, and many more. Phosphorus, together with calcium, helps your bones and teeth strong. So yes, vitamin D is kind of a big deal, and without it, life gets a lot harder. 1 month without sunlight is already enough to start feeling the lack of vitamin D. Imagine after 4. So what exactly happened to you? For now, you're just feeling a little down and constantly tired. But don't worry, the real trouble is still coming. It's official. After 7 months, you're probably the human who has spent the longest time without seeing the sun. Fun fact, the potential record holder, although there is no official time without sunlight record, was French. His name was Michel Siffre, a speleologist, explorer, adventurer, and scientist who sadly passed away in 2024. To study human sleep cycles and how our internal clocks behave in total isolation, he locked himself inside a case. And the wild part is, he did it several times. His personal record was 202 days completely cut off from the world in a cave in Texas. If that little story intrigued you, I really recommend looking up the articles about his experiments. Anyway, let's get back to our own story and to our good old vitamin D. Even if you adjust your diet to get as much vitamin D as possible, you'll still end up deficient. You're still exhausted, your mood is in the dumps, and to make things worse, you keep getting sick. That's normal, because the lack of vitamin D weakens your immune system. So don't be surprised if colds, stomach bugs, and coughs become a regular thing. And this sunlight-free lifestyle, some people actually have to live that way. Have you ever heard of the children of the moon? That's the name given to people with an extremely rare, incurable genetic disorder called xerodermal pigmentosum. But let's just say children of the moon. It's easier. And when I say rare, I mean really rare. On average, it affects about 1 person in a million. They're called children of the moon because for them, sunlight can be deadly. Even the tiniest amount of ultraviolet light can cause cancer. In fact, their risk of developing cancer is about 4,000 times higher than in healthy people. That's because our DNA is stored in every single cell of our body, including skin cells. When we're exposed to sunlight, UV rays can damage and alter that DNA. Normally, it's not a big deal. Special enzymes step in and repair the damaged genes. It's a bit like Age of Empires. When one of your buildings is under attack, you can send villagers to fix it before it collapses. Same thing here. Enzymes are like your body's repair crew, patching up your DNA. But for people with xeroderma pigmentosum, the children of the moon, those enzymes don't work the way they should. As a result, their cells deteriorate and cancers can develop. And as I mentioned earlier, there is still no cure for this disease. To survive, patients have no choice but to live at night or step outside completely covered so that not a single bit of skin is exposed to the sun. Even indoors, they have to shield their window with UV blocking filters. And when they go out, they wear UV-proof helmets originally designed by NASA. So next time you get a minor sunburn, maybe take a second to put things into perspective. A whole year has passed, and you can finally see the sun again. Though you might not feel so comfortable about it. Your body has grown used to living in relative darkness. Just like Michel Siffre when he came out of his cave, you might even think the moment you step into daylight, even if you didn't spend the year in total darkness. Your eyes aren't used to sunlight anymore, and those first rays can be tough to handle. You'll also need to protect your skin because it is no longer used to the UV rays of our good old star. So, as you've probably gathered from this little experiment, our dear test subject Gustave made it through, though it wasn't exactly pleasant. You've grown weaker both physically and mentally. But the good news is that you should recover fairly quickly. Living without sunlight hasn't turned you into Gollum or some cave-dwelling creature. To reach that point, several generations of your descendants would need to live this way for centuries. Now just imagine we discovered a hidden group of humans who have lived without sunlight for generations. What do you think they'd look like? In any case, if you've ever gone a long stretch without seeing the sun, tell us about it in the comments. See you soon.